Thank you, David. COVID is circulating again. It is quite literally in the air and has made a resurgence globally as well as in Canada. There are a couple of variants that are on the radar for the World Health Organization and the CDC, and also obviously Health Canada. The one that was earlier in the year is the XBB.1.5, which you'll notice had huge prevalence earlier in the year. And that's the one that the new bivalent vaccines are supposedly going to be targeting. But what we're seeing now is a new variant that's in circulation, which I don't even think is on here yet. There was only one case that was picked up in BC a week ago, but we know it's likely circulating in a greater volume, but is supposed to continue to have, the vaccines are supposed to continue to offer protection, hopefully, against this variant, although it is too soon to tell. This new variant is going to likely supersede the others based on most estimates because of the number of mutations it has on its spike protein. But at least preliminary data so far in other countries where it's been circulating for a bit longer shows that it is not causing more hospitalizations and not resulting in more death, which is a very good thing. And most people believe it's because of the vaccines that we have already received, as well as the number of multiple infections and sometimes repeat infections that people have, that is offering long-lasting immunity despite the multiple variants. But thankfully, the vaccines that are coming out will have some effectiveness and efficacy against this new variant. This shows wastewater data for the Windsor-Essex region, and you can see the obvious spikes at the beginning of the year in 2021, another spike in that spring. Then you can see that, we're not seeing the huge spikes that we used to see, but there's clearly upticks in the beginning of the fall there in November, again at the beginning of the year in January, and in the spring. And then it seemed to become almost dormant and quiescent, where it wasn't really being picked up. And now, as of this past week and a half or so, we're starting to see another uptick. And obviously, it's impossible to predict how high this peak is going to reach, or whether it's going to be similar to the peaks that we saw earlier in the year. But again, it's clearly on everybody's radar. I'm sure people on this board and watching have anecdotal stories of people they know who've recently become infected with COVID, or have had an illness that they just, it didn't test but isolated, which is the right thing to do. But there's no question that COVID is back. It's circulating. But of course, we're monitoring for severity, because that's, from our perspective, one of the most important triggers for changes in what we do at the hospital.
Thank you, Dr. Saad.